So I've been working on this painting on and off for a few months now, and I'm about to continue. However, there is something that I need to do to this painting to make things a little bit easier. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but as this painting dried, it has a very matted finish. It's not very glossy. And some parts are a little more glossy than other parts, but for the most part, it looks pretty uneven, especially if you look at it from the side like this, with the light source reflecting directly off of it. And so what happens when I go in there with a brush and some paint and medium, those colors are going to be glossy. And when it's glossy, it actually looks a little bit darker or more intense, maybe a bit more contrasted. And it's not really going to be even with the current surface of this dry painting. So in this case, what I normally do is called oiling out, and I'll be demonstrating that today, as well as some of the colors I'm going to be painting, and just like a little bit of detail further onto this piece. So I've got this dish here, nothing crazy. It's had medium in it before, but it's totally dry, so it's not going to affect anything. And I'm going to create a medium that I can place over the surface of the painting to even out all those tonal values and make me see things more accurately. So I'm going to be using some stand oil, and I'm just going to add a little bit in here, not too much. And normally what I do is I use like a brush like this to get some of it out and also to mix it. So that looks about right. I'm really not trying to get a whole lot of it out, because this is only going for one painting, and even that is too much, but we have to mix it with some of the other mediums here. Then I'm taking some Galkid. Love me some Galkid. Also, this is just my way of doing it, or the way I like to. You don't have to do it exactly this way. You could do whatever you want, but so I usually do about a third Galkid and a third stand oil and then a third Gamsol, but in this case I think I'm going to do half Gamsol, maybe a little bit less than half, and about an even amount of Galkid and stand oil. So taking some Gamsol, gonna add that into this mixture as well. Need to get some more Gamsol, and then I just mix it up. And I'm just trying to get everything kind of evenly combined. Oops, some of it got on my table, but that's okay because this table already has plenty of paint stains on it. Not ideal, but that's okay. Alright. So let's just try to pat this down. This isn't gonna do anything, but worth a try. Alright, so, I mean, that feels relatively mixed enough to me. Just gonna give it a couple extra stirs. Kind of emphasis on like scraping off the bottom because most of the oil just collects down there. So I wipe that off, and then I'm gonna use this brush. It's a Princeton No. 4 Dakota brush. Very nice brush. I love them actually, and I've been using them a lot. So, do you hear my knees cracking? This is ridiculous. Okay, so I'm just going to be dipping this into the medium and spreading it over my painting. Alright, so got my medium, and just watch what happens. I guess I could use a bigger brush for this, but that's okay. Notice how much darker that immediately looks compared to that side. You can even see it so much better from where I'm sitting. So let me just bring the camera over here and show you what I mean. So it had a noticeable effect from where you were positioned, which was around the area where the light source was positioned. But when you have it a little bit opposite towards the light source, you can see how much more clear and vibrant that looks, and the light just penetrates through that medium and illuminates all of the colors underneath. So yeah, let's continue with this. Alright, also it's a good idea to dust off the painting, make sure there's no animal hair anywhere, because this medium will eat it all up. And so you just spread it out through the rest of your painting. And I'll be able to see all the colors more accurately as if they were when the paint was wet before it dried. And this happens a lot with oil painting. The mediums that you add, the varying amounts of the mediums combined with the difference in pigments and each tube being like a little different pigment formula. All of that basically contributes to it drying differently in different areas of the painting. So oiling out is the solution here. A lot of people fix that with glazing, but it doesn't actually fix it because the painting underneath is still, you know, matte and uneven. And if you take that varnish off, it's still going to look the same. So before you varnish, you definitely want to make sure that your painting is already evened out. Because with the varnish, you're just kind of covering up the problem. You're not really fixing it. That's how I see it anyway. And also, Gamblin, the makers of the varnish I use, Gambar, they also suggest that before you varnish, you want to oil out your painting a bit. So I just try to oil out my pieces lately. I haven't always done this, like this isn't something that I do quite often. A lot of times my paintings just dry glossy because I'm using glossy mediums, but it's something I need to do more. So you can also use another product that I've talked about in an old video called Oleo Gel, and that is another, you don't have to mix anything, you just apply it on the painting. It doesn't smell like anything, it's just heated linseed oil. Kind of similar to like Galca Gel, I guess, but it dries a lot slower. And I actually like for my painting to stay wet after I varnish it because, not after I varnish it, after I oil out, because paint applies differently to a dry canvas than it does to a wet one. And the brush strokes just look different to me. So I really like to try and keep the surface wet for as long as I can while I'm working on those details. Because not only are we evening out all the tonal values and making sure that we're perceiving them accurately, but the paint also applies differently on the surface. It gives it like a more buttery texture. It almost enhances that oil paint quality that I just absolutely love. And the colors, you know, obviously look so much more vibrant and intense. And yeah, the brush strokes just look very rich and oily. And even after they dry, they still look like that. Which, you know, if you don't oil out and you happen to have these uneven areas, I feel like it kind of takes away from the painting a little. It doesn't quite look right. So, let's see here. We just have a little bit left. I'm turning my head to the side here gradually as I'm talking because being able to see different parts of the painting with the light makes a difference. So you can tell we're almost done. So I'm going to put some this side. Again, I really should have chosen a thicker brush for this, but it's okay. Not a big deal. I'm sorry if the sound of the brush against the wood panel is kind of irritating. I'm just trying to get it as evenly coated as I can. Some parts here need more. Oops, there's a little speck there. Not what we're going for. It's kind of like varnishing, but you know, you're not, because you're still not done with the painting and you're going to continue. But similar effect to the way varnishing makes paintings look. Gotta get the sides here. Make sure everything's even. Alright, I think everything is basically covered nicely, and the painting already looks so much better to me. It looks like as if I just painted everything on here. The brush strokes look so much more fresh. I can see the values accurately, and now we can continue with some more details. And here's a view of the painting from the side again. It looks much different. Maybe I'll do a side-by-side comparison, the view from the front. But it's not like perfectly flawlessly evenly coated, but that's okay, because they're gonna get moved around regardless, and there's gonna be paint going on that layer. So let's do some of that. Righty, so we have a little bit of a limited view here on my palette, but I have my reference here. And these are some of the old colors that I used for this painting, but oh, sorry, you can't see. But at this point, they're totally dry and practically useless, so I'm not even gonna bother trying with that. There's just absolutely no point. So instead, I'm just gonna go and start mixing with my brushes. This is a lovely brush, another Princeton brush. It's a number 2 Dakota, and it's like this really pointy tip. And though it holds a lot of paint, it has a pointy tip, so you can do all these fine details with it as well. And I recently tested it out, and it worked great. So I think I'm gonna do some refining on the water. So I'm taking some, oh my goodness, gotta poke through this color. I'm taking some ultramarine blue and titanium white, some, oh my god, these colors, I gotta poke through them. Or I could just, you know, put new colors on my palette, but I like to suffer, so, you know. And then some burnt umber, just mixing those two together, and I can just combine and compare it to my reference right here. So adding a little bit more titanium white, and then some cadmium red light, just a slight, small amount. And this can go, or I think it can, this can go right in this area here. I painted it on a little bit too blue last time. I'm also not adding any medium to my palette here because the surface of the painting already has like a fair amount of medium on it. And it does have like a bluish color here, which is lighter from this part down here. But at that point I painted it on like way too intensely. So I'm just doing some very small touch-ups. Although the downside to oiling out is you have this entire wet surface, and then you can't just like place your hand down on the painting. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. In this area here, I think I need to make it just a little bit lighter, so I'm bringing some titanium white in there, and we're just gonna blend that out very gradually. And then there's a little speck like right here, which is slightly more blue than the rest, so I'm just gonna pick up some ultramarine blue and titanium white and fill that spot in there. Looks a little more intense than I wanted, but that's okay, it actually works. Bring some of that color. But I think I'm gonna make it a little more brown here. And then, ooh, a little too bright, that's okay. And then, oh, hi, Callie. Callie has joined us today. She expects to be fed very soon, so that's what's gonna happen. All right, and then, you know what? I'm still gonna use some of that blue color there. We're just gonna bring some more titanium white in and work on some of these ripples here. There's a lot going on, there's a lot of shapes. It's hard to really decipher, but I'm trying. There's a little bit more blue in this little water ripple too, sort of right where the water meets the shoulder. These are all very subtle, small things, but they add up and they make a difference. So I'm just gonna cover that. Bring that color elsewhere, and then combine it back to the browns. You know, I am gonna bring in a little bit of sap green. Okay, maybe more than I wanted, but that's okay. Let's see if this is focused. Focus it better. So, very soft, subtle details. Okay, I refocused the main camera that's pointed at the painting, and hopefully you can see a little better because I'm using a lens with a really low aperture, and so if I don't focus it correctly or remember to switch it up, I have this footage of me painting on a blurry angle, but you live, you learn. I keep saying that, like, dear Lena, stop quoting things. Thanks. So then some of this green color, I'm gonna bring that here because this looks too dark to me now. I'm sure at the time that I did that it made sense and it did help, but now, having fresh eyes after not working on this for a while, I can see it needs to be different, lighter. So I'm bringing a little more titanium white into that and just kind of make it a bit lighter. And then bring that color into here too. And some of these parts I'm noticing need to be more brown, but they look a little too blue or navy, dark navy blue, green. It's so hard to describe. So it's looking like I might need a little bit of purple. So I'm just gonna add some alizarin crimson into here, into that little blue color here, and then I'm gonna add some titanium white. And, oop, too dark, sorry. I mean, I guess I don't have to be sorry. I'm figuring it out. There we go. It's very subtle, but right where it meets the skin, it has like a purple, bluish color to it. In some parts it's more blue than others, so when I was just starting to paint these colors at the beginning stages when I was just color blocking, you know, the important part was just to get an estimate down. Now that that estimate is down, I can build on that and correct and tweak things. And so now I'm seeing all these areas where I can switch things up a bit, make it a little darker, a little more purple, a little more blue, whatever it is. It's just a very gradual building process. So I added some titanium white here with some ultramarine blue, and that's going up here. Still not light enough. I should probably refill my titanium white. A little more alizarin crimson. And then just bringing that in there. And then there's some burnt sienna peeking through here at the line of fabric. Not a big fan. So I'm bringing some alizarin crimson into titanium white, and I'm just gonna fill in some of these spots here with the fabric. And I'll correct it later, it doesn't have to be perfect right now. But it does have a more purple appearance. So again, I'm taking some ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson with titanium white, and I'm just lining this section here. There's a shadow, just a very faint line of shadow where the fabric meets the skin. Okay, what else can I do here? So I think I want to tweak this area some more. It looks like I might need to make a new color, so I'm going to take some cadmium red light, some Caucasian flesh tint, and mind you, I already have all these other colors on my brush, which helps, means I don't have to like pick them up. And then take some more of my miserable looking titanium white. I should just refill that, but no, Lena will suffer and torture herself. So that color can go into this section just to warm it up a little and just help create this very like soft little blend where the water meets the shoulder, the neck, the skin, and bring it out a little bit this way, and then fade out a very soft shadow on the skin here. And this is all looking a bit dark to me, but we'll fix that. Okay, so I'm going to take some, if I can, burnt sienna. Just going to add it to, whoa, there's some crusty paint on here. Just going to add it to that color here. And then, you know what? You know what? I think it's time that I stop torturing myself. Just watch what I'm going to do. Boom. Fresh titanium white. No more suffering. Beautiful. All right. Just going to add a little bit there. Some of the purple as well. Some of the green. They all look brown, honestly, just varying degrees of brown, but it's okay. And what I'm going to do is refine, ooh, there's hair on my brush. Okay, we can't have that. No, thank you. I'm just going to refine some of this little warped looking reflection here. Just give it a little more shape because that highlight was missing from whatever I did last time. It might be more efficient to have this painting sideways, but it's okay. And then that color meets right here. And just blends out that way a little. And it's not that far from the color here. In fact, I can bring some of it into the air reflection as well. Just kind of bring it this way too, because it all intertwines. It's just a mess of shapes. Like, I can't describe to you what they look like. They're just water ripples, and they always create these shapes and they look different and unique every time. And I'm going to bring it this way. Kind of connect here with this little line squiggle thingy. And then again right here, but over there it needs to be a bit lighter, so I'm bringing some titanium white in there. And we're just gonna do this. Like right where it meets the skin, there's also that flesh colored squiggle ripple looking shape. Okay. Starting to come together a little. I don't know if on your end what you're seeing is making sense or making a difference. You might be sitting there thinking, what is she doing? Or maybe you're like, yeah, that I can see how that made a difference. And even this I'll probably have to tweak. I'm sort of estimating on an estimate. And then we need some more burnt sienna right in this area here, and it needs to be a bit lighter too because it just feels a little too dark there. Just a little. And I'm going to bring some in here as well. That's a little too light actually, so let's go to the burnt umber section that I have left over and add some more burnt umber. And then just bring that in there. Here, and then that color, pick up some more burnt umber, some cadmium red light, a little bit of that, And this we're just going to tweak some of that ear reflection with. It's brighter towards the bottom. Just trying to paint those squiggles on. And then it meets here with the squiggles on the highlight of the jaw. Or at least that's what I'm thinking is that whole section is. It looks like it is some of the jaw, lighter parts of the jaw and the chin, the neck. Going back to this lighter color here. And just brighten up this section here. And then bring it this way. There's like a separate little strand like right here. And then it blends out this way. Just gonna go back to the ear for a little bit. So you can see I'm just a little bit all over the place. I just kind of make an estimate and go with that. And so now I'm just gonna take this brush without any paint on it and I'm just gonna smooth it out a little. Just kind of make it look a little softer. Everything I just did with those the light browns. Just kind of blend it all. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna go back here with a little more titanium white. Just refine that little section a little more. It needs a little bit blue actually, so I'm just gonna bring some of these colder tones and do that because it's not quite so light brown. I'm seeing a little bit of blue tone. Needs a bit more blue actually. I'm always cautious not to pick up too much. And then I'm going to bring that down there.